Hi, I think you're on mute.
I was on mute. Good catch. Okay, I'm going to continue. Oh, so you're doing remote. You're not at the studio.
Not today, no.
Okay.
I'm just at home today, and it looks like we're gonna have some people join. Yeah.
That's wonderful, Cassidy. Thanks for the invite.
Yes, of course. I'm so happy that you are available.
Oh, look who's there. Hi, Shan. I know Shan.
Hello, how are you?
Ooh, I'm good, girl. How are you?
Pretty good.
Admit, yeah, read. Okay, so you're admitting everybody.
Yeah, just going right into it. Yeah.
That's great.
And then my coworker Glenn is going to help out with tech support. So if anyone's having any issues, and he's going to join in about 5 minutes or so.
Okay, good. Good.
How's your day been so far?
Yeah, it's good. There's a storm a brewing over here. So yeah, we're gonna have a nice storm, hopefully. Because it's just been so like swimming, through the air, like you're swimming. It's so moist.
Yes.
It's so humid over here.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. Is Nia on? Nia Reed is on, but she can't. Maybe she doesn't come on. There's my friend Nia coming in.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's Nia. Look at you keeping cool in your place.
I went running, so I'm just like,
oh my God.
Nice.
I'm so out of shape.
Well, and this weather doesn't help. Like I'm just maintaining in this weather. It's so crazy.
I think I just missed you last weekend, Janet. I was at 1492 Land Back.
We saw you. We saw you. Yeah, in the crowd. We thought, Shan's just enjoying herself there. So yeah, we saw you.
I'm oblivious to everyone else. I'm just like,
That was a good afternoon. That was a good time.
Yeah, I was really happy to be there. It was felt kind of like I was coming out of seclusion or something.
Right? It felt like that, like for everybody, it felt like, it feels like we're on the other side of this thing, we're getting on the other side of this thing. So that's great.
Yeah, it felt really good to be out there.
Mm-hmm. So I have prepared some things for us to listen to. I'll wait for everyone to join.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we are going to be doing some listening, and I'll do some sharing, and I'm really wide open to questions to keep the conversation going. And I brought, some books we can have a look at as well. I love to talk about radio. Oh my God.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Oh my God. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And it looks like, I think there are about 30 people or so registered. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. Great.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Good.
Yeah, and it's a free event. So.
Okay, good. Yeah. I advertised a couple of times on my page there. So.
Awesome.
Good. Yeah.
Tanya's going to be joining us as well. I hope that's okay.
Who is?
Tanya.
Oh, great. Yes, please. Yeah, great. Hello.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi. Sorry if I'm a little bit late. I got held up.
I don't think so.
You're great.
Cassidy, do you have a show at CFUV?
Yes, I do. Yeah, so I have a podcast that I do called Dene Talk, and then I'm just started a radio show that's airing this Friday actually, and it's called Cranlands.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's all Indigenous indie pop, electro, and alternative country hip hop. Yeah,
great, good. Yeah, I was trying to show my West Coast drum there.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. That's Dylan Thomas, and you're in Victoria. Of course, you're in Victoria, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought you were Salish, Cassidy.
No, I'm Dene and Cree Métis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my family's from Hay River, Northwest Territories.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Good.
Yeah, and then my grandfather, he's from Fort Chipewyan.
Okay.
As well. Yeah, so he grew up there, right on Lake Athabasca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Sandra L. Sandra L. Yeah, it's been a while since I was doing radio at CFUV. I think my last year was, well, 2017.
Oh, wow.
I believe so. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not 2017. Yeah, 2017. Yeah, or 2018, either one. I did 10 years anyway. I started 2007, so.
That's a long time in radio.
It was a good long run. I was enjoying myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Troy Sebastian spoke a lot about that time.
Good. Yeah, he came in. How many years did he do? The last 2 years with me or something?
Oh, nice.
That was just magic. He and I had great chemistry. I would do radio with him again in a minute. Like it was so much fun he loved doing the weather for some reason.
He talks about that all the time. Every time he's like, do you read the weather? And I'm like, no, not yet. But yeah, because all our recordings at CFUV for the moment are all pre-recorded.
Right.
Just because of the pandemic, we've had to close our doors to the public. But hopefully that's going to be changing in the future as things open up. But we're just waiting kind of for the okay from the university and from our board before we can start doing that.
Who's the manager over there right now, Cassidy?
It's Glenn. Glenn is the manager. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Oh,
That'd be me. Janet, I just I think I showed up in 2019, so we didn't really have that crossover. But even when I was living on the East Coast or in Abbotsford, I used to tune in, and cool. I think I've caught your show a few times, so it was kind of nice.
Oh, that's great. Super. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, we get storms here in Victoria, but we never get thunder very often, and that's like the one thing I miss a lot about living on the prairies.
The rarity, yeah. I was living there 25 years as a guest on Coast Hill Territory. Experienced 2 earthquakes.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know what that feels like. It's pretty, you feel completely vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I'll let you admit these people. I'm trying to help you.
Yeah. I'm on it. Me and Glenn are all on it.
Good old.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it till about 2:05 or so, or 2 or 6 or so. Just
okay.
And then maybe we'll get started around then if that works for you.
Sure. Yeah, we can hang out a little bit.
Janet, your shirt looks on point.
Are you liking? Oh my God. I wanted to send you a photo. Can I show you a jacket I got today?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna come right back and show you this jacket I got. I'll just switch the camera around so you can see. It has a hood.
Is it like warm?
It's beautiful. It's quite thin, but
it's like summer, September jacket.
Yeah.
Like nice. Yes, with the hood. The
bottom of my jacket.
I feel like that jacket is like your next video.
Yeah. It's pretty loud and it's okay. I like it.
I don't think it's loud.
It's bright.
I think it's bold.
Yeah, it's bold. Thank you. It's bold. Thank you. Yeah. Just put that over here. But yeah, I just thought, a little gift.
Where did you get it from?
And here on Res, like there's all these gift shops that are open here on the Res. You should like cruise and have a shopping spree over here sometime. And the price is like so good.
That's on my my wish list is like, okay, I just want to like reinvent. I want to have like rebirth moment where everything, my whole entire wardrobe moves out of like casual basics into like bold and fierceness.
There you go, fierce. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Time to elevate. Hello, Sandra. I don't think I know you. Glad you could join. This is nice. I like it when, you know, there's the option to kind of see and talk to everybody, and you can see everybody who's talking. I just like having that option. It's much more community. Yes.
Definitely.
Mm. Yeah, speaking of radio, so do you know Element FM? And so Element FM, they're a kind of a branch of APTN. They have a station in Toronto and they have a station in Ottawa. And there's a fellow who's moving out of his major time slot in the Toronto station. And he reached out and he said, "Oh, may I put your name forward as a possible replacement?" I'm like, "Yeah, you could do that. Go ahead."
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll see what comes of it. We'll see what comes of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would your potential show be about?
Well, it's Element FM, like that time slot is it's you know, they play commercial things, they play commercial music as well as Indigenous music. So it's yeah, it's not like community radio. It's a bit more structured in that way.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody. Jeff Doctor. All right. Lydia, I see this session is being recorded. Yes, right.
Is that okay with you? I think I included.
Yes, I replied. I said yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Hello. Welcome, welcome. Well, oh, love it. I love it when people show their cats. What a nice color gray that cat is. That's lovely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looking after my parents' 2 cats and dog while I'm here. And so they're making lots of appearances on my work videos today.
When you see the pets, it lowers the stress level. You know, it really does. It makes people in a better mood. It's like having elders in the room or something. It's like, you know, it's like people behave better when they see pets. Hello, what's the cat's name?
His name is Garnet, named after a knowledge keeper from the Katie Nation.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Garnet, like my birthstone is garnet. Lovely.
Hello, Janet.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi, I'm from Toronto.
Okay.
We actually had a connection before. I was working for an Indigenous agency. But I just want to say I'm so looking forward to this. This is my 3rd Zoom meeting today.
Oh, wow.
My first voluntary one. I'm looking forward to this one. The other 2 are working, so.
Okay. Oh, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Yeah, we'll make it worth your while.
Looking forward to it.
Cool.
Shan, is that a chinchilla? Oh,
It's a chinchilla. That's so cool.
Yeah, I've got 2 babies. This is one of them. This one is Putuokti.
Hi, Baba. Oh
They're
my
about 6
God,
months
it's
old.
so adorable. So cute. Oh, look at it. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
he's just a baby. He's about half grown right now.
Oh, wow. What do they eat?
They eat food pellets, kind of like a rabbit would,
Okay.
and a lot of hay, and they will chew anything they can get between their teeth because they're a rodent. So
Wow.
I have to keep them supervised and in a safe place. So they've got a large enclosure with multiple levels that they can hop around, and
Okay.
I bring them out to play all the time too, because they're very playful right now.
Nice. Yeah, so I will be sharing my screen so that we can listen and look at a couple of sites. I'll direct our attention to a couple of sites when we get there. But you say when, Cassidy? You say when? You're expecting a few more people, I imagine, in?
Yeah, let's just give it maybe another 5 minutes if that's okay for everyone, just in case there's any stragglers out there in the world, because I know that a lot of people are busy sometimes. Like myself, I'm a very last minute person. Yeah.
Well, I'm a punctual person, as Mia can attest.
I definitely always like think about that. If you know there's something going behind, I'm like, oh my God, Janet's gonna be there, or she's gonna be like, where is this woman?
Yeah, you only need to be late with me once before you understand the level of importance of being on time. No, I'm transmitting from Six Nations. Who was asking that? Was it
me.
Okay, yeah, hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
Yeah. Oh, Lori,
Galawaga.
are you on Six, Lori?
No, I've been on Vancouver Island for about 25 years now.
Oh. Okay.
Oh.
Hello, welcome. Yeah, no, I'm on Six. I got home in 2019.
Okay.
And somebody's joining from the bus, it looks like. They on the bus. They in transit. Okay. That's so crazy. It's amazing. Hey, this is amazing. Yeah. Where are we in the future? This is crazy. That's a great. Okay, cool.
All right, I think I'm gonna get things started if that works for everyone. And if people join, and they can join in the middle. I just have a little introduction, if that's okay, Janet, to start. Alrighty. Welcome, everybody. As a few housekeeping notes, the speaking portion of this event will be recorded and posted. Glenn, the station manager, is handling our tech, so if you have any issues, just post in the chat and he will assist you and be happy to do so. This workshop features a talk by Janet Rogers. I'll be followed by a Q&A period. So keep your questions until then, or if that works for everyone. Yeah, this event is hosted on the beautiful traditional and unceded territories of the W SÁNEĆ and Lək speaking peoples known as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. CFUV 101.9 FM is an independent and volunteer-driven community and campus radio station broadcasting from the University of Victoria campus. Since 1984, CFUV has been amplifying marginalized voices, providing free media training opportunities to the community, and creating cutting-edge and award-winning radio and podcasts. My name is Casti Villambrakis. I'm the Indigenous Programming Coordinator at CFUV. Janet is an award-winning Mohawk and Tuscarora poet, writer, and radio producer and publisher from the Six Nations Band in Southern Ontario. She began writing in 1996 and has published and recorded several award-winning poetry collections. She's had many positions of note, including McMaster's Writer-in-Residence from 2020 to 2021, and the University of Alberta Writer-in-Residence from 2018 to 2019, and then the Victoria Poet Laureate from 2012 to 2014. She hosted Native Waves at CFUV, Tribal Clefs Tribal Chiefs on CBC Radio One in Victoria, and created a few radio documentaries as well, including Bring Your Own Drum, 50 Years of Indigenous Protest Music, Resonating Reconciliation, and Indians on the Airways. Take it away, Janet.
All right, thank you. And Cassidy, thank you again for inviting me to do this. Like I was saying earlier, that I really, really enjoy talking about radio. It's one of my passions. And thanks everyone for taking the time out of your day to join this conversation. And I hope that we will have a nice, enjoyable conversation. Ask the questions, and I think we will save the cues until after the presentation. There's a bit of material I'm going to go through. But first, I'll just let you know, we are going to do a little bit of listening. I have some clips kind of lined up for us to listen to, because there's no better way to kind of explain certain things other than to share those examples of audio bits that will best, kind of include the details of what I'm talking about. But first, because we're starting out, I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm Janet Rogers, Mohawk Tuscarora, and I am situated on my home territory of Six Nations of the Grand River, after having lived as a guest on Coast Salish territory, AKA Victoria, BC, for 25 years. And it was so, I was treated really, really well out there by the Coast Salish people, and the New Channel people, and the radio station CFUV. So that's why I stayed out there for so darn long, and was able to do my show Native Waves Radio for 10 years, from 2007 to 2017. And that's kind of where I wanted to start this conversation. we all have, you know, origin stories, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about my origin story in getting into radio. And it's really quite a funny one, because I was, you know, kind of hanging around with some people from the native writing community in Victoria, BC, Coast Salish Territory. These two dudes, William George and oh my God, I've just lost the name of the other fellow I wanted to talk about. It'll come to me. Gordon Dufresne. And so they were in the writing community, and they also had their radio show at CFUV. It was called Unreserved, funnily enough. And now that CBC has a very popular show called Unreserved, but I always called it Unrehearsed, because their show was really raw, like it was. And at the time when they were doing radio, they didn't have a lot of music selections really to choose from, so they would play Eulalie like all the friggin' time. Like, if you know who Eulalie is, they're the three female singers from Tuscarora Nation, and beautiful singers, but man, they just played their album to death. And so when I got my show, I would say this is a Eulalie free zone, because I just thought, okay, they've already been played enough. Anyway, as the story goes, our friend Gordon Dufresne had passed away quite suddenly. And so we lost him in the community, and he was a great storyteller, and he really was great on radio. And after a while, Will George, who was actually a descendant of Chief Dan George, moved back to his home territory in Vancouver, the Burrard Inlet Band. He's from the Burrard Inlet Band. And so CFUV was without radio for a little while there, a couple of years, I would say, and maybe more. And then it was around like the holiday time in 2006 when I heard a voice in my ear out of nowhere, and it said, "You should do radio." That's all it said. "You should do radio." And I thought, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So I thought, after the holidays, I'm going to get in touch with CFUV and see, you know, how I could get this started. And it was wonderful. The management at CFUV at the time kind of helped me fast track my way into getting a show on. I got the proper training, yes, but you know, it was like they kind of really helped me get there quicker. And before I knew it, it was February of 2017 when I went on the air for the first time. So from the December of 2016 or 2006 to February of 2007, I was on the air. And I'll tell you, it wasn't pretty radio at the time, because I was just, you know, starting, and there was a little bit of like, it was clunky, but man, you know, that's how you do it. Like, you do it by doing it. So that's how I learned how to do it. And I had great, you know, radio mentors at the station as well, who helped me get there with the show. So it was Native Waves Radio, and it was always going to be about community, 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 community. And it was a very wonderful time, because in the first few years that I was doing radio, as it so happened, the Native music scene was simultaneously exploding. So I had access to all of this new music that was being produced and being released. And it was almost like having like this inside track. And so anyone who tuned into my show was getting, you know, like firsthand listen to some new bands that were out there. It was a lot of rock, you know, a lot of folk, definitely rootsy stuff. And then I got really excited, because then I started to hear about Native metal bands, which was just just exciting for me. So that's how I started. And then it was like a year later, and I think just filling the void of that radio program, people started to hear about it. There was like a little bit of a buzz. And then CBC in Victoria, on Radio One in Victoria, reached out and they said, "Hey, we're thinking of doing this, you know, Native music segment. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, who is this? Like, I couldn't believe that they were on the phone to me asking, like, oh, you know, only having been on the radio for a year. but I said yes. And that was a different vibe. It's, you know, CBC is a different vibe. It's not community radio. You can feel the difference. Like it's a bit more, you have to, you know, follow a bit more rules, and it's really white. Let me just go ahead and say that it was really white. But they welcomed me, and they were, you know, they were really careful with that relationship. And I did a weekly, what they call a music column, and where I got to introduce again, like, you know, the new music that was coming out. And at the time, and I just thought, oh, they want to know the new music coming out. So naively, I started to introduce, I wanted to introduce in my first segment, very first segment with them, Tanya Dagak, and they nixed that like right in the bud. They go, yeah, no, we can't play this. We can't play this. I went, oh, okay, you want native music. You don't want like native music, right? So I understood where they were coming from then. And so that went on for 8 years. So I was doing Native Ways Radio for 10 years. And then I did the segment on CBC Radio One for 8 years. And it ended badly, that relationship with CBC Radio in Victoria, because they really took 2 steps back from the 1 step forward that they had established in, you know, making a connection with the Native community in Victoria. And they dismissed me without letting me know they dismissed me. And that's fine if they wanted to go with a different host. It's you know, fine to have different voices on the air. I'm all for that. Or if they wanted to use that time segment to have a different, you know, cover different Native issues or whatever, that would have been great. But it was the way that they went about it that really ruined the relationship. And so I was really stung. I was really stung by that experience. And but, you know, because I'm connected to community, I went and I told my story, and I said, you know, if you would please contact that producer and let her know what you think. And so they got inundated. They got inundated with phone calls and emails and all kinds of things on their social media. And the community really came out for me, and they said, hey, listen, you know, do right by this girl. And anyway, that was that. And I moved on. And I started to do some traveling after that. So the first thing that I wanted for us to listen to was a little bit of radio origins from 1969. Who was alive in 1969? Yes, a few of us were. I would have been 63. Yeah, I would have been 6 years old when this segment, this news story broke. And this is a segment that we're going to listen to from KYA station in San Francisco. And this is a news segment that covers the Alcatraz occupation. So back in the day, children, there was a movement called the American Indian Movement, really radical, really wonderful, really woke Indians that helped a lot of people along. And they took over Alcatraz Island in San Francisco, saying that, look, this is our land, and we're going to show you that it's our land. And they went and they lived there. That was like one of the first land back movements, like, let's face it, right? And so they lived out there. The occupation started November of 1969. When this news segment came out, it was May of 1970. So they had been there for 7 months. And I'm just going to share with you how that went about getting covered by KYA. So let me just see if we can get this segment up here. It's about 4 minutes. Can you hear that? Oh, can people hear that? You can hear it? Okay, great. Here we go.
You better get ready. It's 20 minutes now before 10 a.m., 9:40 at KYA with Juan and Johnny. We'll be back with more KYA music after this short report from KYA News on Alcatraz. Last November on Alcatraz, a few small boats in the early morning hours landed on those rocky shores, and on the dock on the east side of the island, inside the small boats were Indians who claimed Alcatraz was theirs and had been since the white man was still in Europe before he got to the United States. Now, the Indians have been allowed to stay on Alcatraz since November. There have been, at times, as many as 600 people out there, but the hardcore has always been 50 to 100, and now they're down to about 75. They want it made into a cultural center for Indians, even though it's inaccessible, very expensive to build on, and hard to furnish with things like water and electricity because it's so remote from the mainland of San Francisco. Uncle Sam's been wishy-washy about the whole thing. He never really tried to kick the Indians off, never really tried to make it comfortable for them to stay. There have been a lot of propositions from a lot of people about what should be done with Alcatraz, including some kind of a space museum that would draw visitors from all over the world, or the Indians' own plan, that cultural center. Now it appears Uncle Sam may have decided to really make a decision, booting the Indians off and making Alcatraz into a federal park after demolishing all the old prison buildings out there that held men like Scarface Al Capone and Babyface Nelson. One of the Alcatraz Indian hardcore members who still remains on the island, Bob Bradley, came into San Francisco yesterday to speak as the public relations director for the Indians about the Indians' reply to this new national park plan from Uncle Sam.
The current proposal, the answer is still no to the government, that they will not make a park out of it. And on May 31st will be Indian Liberation Day, and the news media are invited out there, and we'll give the rest of our press release at that time.
At that time, Sunday, there could be 100 to 200 people on Alcatraz Island. Some fancy invitations have been printed up and were issued a couple of weeks ago. Bradley, talking with KYA's Larry Brownell, was asked if anybody from the government has really asked the Indians to get off the rock.
Oh, not as yet, but we'll be keeping open broadcast in case anything does happen. That'll be about our only direct means of communications, plus our own mobile radio that we have out there.
You still have no regular telephone, though, is that correct?
No, the government won't let us have one.
So you haven't seen any actual, as of the time you left, no people from the Interior Department, parks people or anybody like that?
Nobody.
Bradley, talking with Brownell, made a good estimate on how many Indians are still out there on Alcatraz.
We have from 70 to 125.
Still some of the children there, too?
Yes, children, men and women, and families are still there.
How are things now? How are conditions?
The conditions are pretty good.
They're pretty good for a while. 75,000 gallons of water remain on Alcatraz Island. It'll take quite a while to drink that, but when it's gone, there'll be no more. The government, very quietly, took away the barge that's used to take water to Alcatraz. There are no pipes from the mainland there. There is an underground electrical line, but we're told it now has been disconnected.
We don't have the water barge right now.
Has that been taken away?
As far as we know, we haven't received it back yet.
Have you run out of water, you mean? Drinking water?
Not as yet. We still do have quite a bit of water left.
But you did depend on that barge, didn't you?
Yes, in a way.
Well, I understood that was the only actual source of fresh water there. It had been for as long as the island's been there, I guess.
Right, it is.
Right it is, but the water will run out soon. The Indians say they'll stay, digging in if necessary. Uncle Sam, trying to convince people he's serious, asks the Indians to leave Alcatraz. Sunday could bring a definite decision. This is Brad Messer, KYA News, a leading service to San Francisco since 1926.
So there you go. That's how that occupation was covered. And, you know, as this Bob Bradley person says, that they had a transmitter, they had a device that they could make communication possible through over to the mainland. And that's, if you ask me, he was basically saying that they had a pirate radio. So they used the means of transmitting through pirate radio channel, which kind of brings me to the point to talk about the books. So, you know, this is something that I kind of realized early on in my radio practice, and that was what an amazing megaphone the radio is, and especially community radio, when you're not kind of restricted in any way and no one's, you know, monitoring your language too much. You know, there are still, you know, CRTC regulations in place there for the license. But what I had, so if you're interested in following up on any books, there's one that was actually produced on Vancouver Island called Islands of Resistance Pirate Radio in Canada. And this is through New Star, New Star Books. And so the three authors of this book are Vancouver, they exist on some of the Gulf Islands there in BC. And there's one chapter in particular I wanted to read a segment to you from, and that is Secwepemc, tell me if I'm butchering that word, Secwepemc radio. And this is a chapter that was written by Nesky Manuel. Nesky Manuel is the son of Arthur Manuel. And Nesky was one of my radio buddies, like way back in the day. And Nesky, again, sadly has gone to spirit. Nesky was suffering with some mental health issues. And but he was the son of Arthur Manuel, who is just like this amazing, intelligent powerhouse of a political mind. And Arthur, we lost Arthur Manuel just not too long ago either. Reclamation, I just want to read just this little first paragraph. Secwepemc radio originally broadcast on the Niskoneth Reserve from July 2005 to June 2007. We did not get a license from CRTC when starting because of our position that as Aboriginal people, we did not give up on our right to make use of the electromagnetic spectrum to carry on our traditions, language, and culture. Operating this radio station is an expression of who we are as a people. It is the modern version of the campfire, where people would share stories. Many Secwepemc stories center around the adventures of Coyote, the best traveler of the land. He is the best traveler of the land for many reasons, but the main reason is a gift that was given to him by Creator, the gift of innovation. Coyote was warned by Creator that this was a powerful gift and he must use it for good and to help the people. We are using this radio to decolonize our airspace, our minds, and our hearts. We are not pirates. We are Secwepemc. And that's from Nesky Manuel. Yes, that's where he comes from with all of this. So, you know, when I talk about radio, I often talk about it in terms of being territory. It exists in the air. It exists, you know, as territory in the air. And like any territory, we must do our part to occupy the territory, to claim our space and our presence on that territory. And that's the way I have always thought about radio. And that's why I just get excited about it, as well as the fact that, you know, you are working with electricity. It's an electrical means, which means it's working with that sort of energy. And that energy to me has a spirit. And I truly, truly believe in the spirit of radio. And that's where I got that voice from. It was probably my friend Gordon talking to me, you know, from the spirit realm and just saying, you should do radio. And boy, was he ever friggin' right, because it's now taking me on this, the trajectory of my radio journey is still going, like it's still going from all that time ago. So this is a live thing. Another book that I wanted to introduce to you guys is Signals in the Air, Native Broadcasting in America. I'm gonna hold up for you here. Can you see it? And this has been one of the first books that have been published about Native radio. And I'm so glad that it exists, because some of the authors are people like Susan Schoen Harjo, who I believe is still living, Frank Blythe, who is not living, but I know his daughter, and then afterwards written by Peggy Berryhill. These are our radio elders. We have radio elders, and it's these people who have penned this book. And so they started everything, you know, and it's very US based, but it still speaks to, you know, why Native radio is so important and how we can do Native radio in the way that we need to do it. We don't have to do it in a way that is expected of us to do that. And then and I can let you know where that comes from after, but and then this is just a more local, this is more from the campus community radio community. This is We Make Radio, 30 years from CJSW, which is a Calgary, the Calgary station out of University of Calgary. And they just went ahead and they made a publication. It's really, really great publication of their 30 years as a campus community radio station. And probably if CFUV did that, it would be just as cool, like lots of great information there, you know. So that's a little bit of the origin story and the history. You know, you can't kind of go forward without knowing where you came from. So I offer that. And then there's also another chapter in this, in the Pirate Radio book that talks about resistance, how we use radio as resistance. And I remember the winter, sorry, of 2012 and 2013. Who could tell me what was happening then? Trying to get all teacherly with you here. That was, if you recall, that was I Don't Know More. Winter of 2012, 2013. People occupying malls, shopping malls, and doing round dances in shopping malls and things like this. Well, that was the winter when I fully realized that this is probably what Native radio was really used for, because I got to announce where those next rallies were. I got to announce where the next protest was taking place. I got to announce all kinds of things like that over the airwaves. And I thought, this is amazing. Whereas the work that I was doing with CBC in Victoria, I tried to talk about issues around the Highway of Tears. And I would have to write my script and they would have to approve my script or edit my script before going on air. And when I mentioned some songs that were written, you know, for Highway of Tears, they corrected that term and they called it Highway 16. Like for some reason, they didn't want it called Highway of Tears. So anyway, that's just kind of one little thing. Like, you know, I didn't have too much problem other than the end of how that all ended. But anyways, so if people are engaging in radio, keep in mind that this is, I think, part of our responsibility. You know, now we have a lot more kind of platforms where we can do that, certainly on social media and things like that, but people still listen to radio. I always think of radio as being like the books of the airwaves. Like, you know, people can publish all kinds of things online, but people still want to pick up a book, you know? And if you're in your car, you turn on that radio, you know? And now we have the podcast, the ways that we consume this kind of radio practice has kind of broadened. I know, like, you know, if I'm indoors and I'm cooking or I do some project or whatever, I like to put on a little podcast and just kind of like, you know, let that run while I'm doing my little business in the kitchen or what have you. And it's still kind of it's a way to enjoy the radio thing, you know. Anyway, that's just where I'm at with that. I don't think radio is ever going to die, is what I'm saying. And then, so if you are now making radio, say, for example, if you're proposing to make some radio, I say, you know, I can give you some advice because I've learned, you know, from here and there, I've learned a few things. You want to do your studio training, most definitely, so that you can run your own show, unless you have the luxury of working with a tech in the studio, which I never did. But then also you want to do your field training, and that is learning how to collect interviews and sounds outside of the studio. I would say if you're making a proposal for radio, you really want to be clear about what your show is. Like think of the radio space as being sacred space. It's sacred space, you know. Don't just come at it and just go, oh, I'm just gonna, like, you know, shoot the shit like for an hour. It's like, who cares? I could listen to, you know, you can listen to people at Tim Hortons do that all day. You don't, you know, if you have the privilege and in the, you know, the responsibility of being on the airwaves, then by all means, take it somewhat seriously, and be clear about what your show will stand for. What are you doing what's your intention there? And then have something to say. I don't want to mention names because if I mentioned a name, you would all know this name, but there was an early Indigenous podcaster who kind of like went at it with no training, but, had a passion to do some radio. And it was like 1 hour of rambling and, half hour of interview. And it was just like, wow, get to the point, man. Like, this is where you realize the importance of working with a producer who can help direct your conversation, can help put a frame around your show segments, and arrange them in a good way that's going to be good for the listener. Because this is, again, when they call you a radio host, that's exactly what you're doing. You're hosting people in your home, and as Native people, we know how important it is to be a good host in any situation. Give that listener, give that visitor some good food, make sure they're comfortable. Don't make it uncomfortable for them. Like, give something pretty for the ear, give them some information to go home with in a doggy bag. You know what I mean? Like, this is your job as a Native DJ. That's how we do it differently. We host like we're hosting you in our house. That's the thing I say when I talk to other people doing radio. And then be clear, research your topics and your guests, and be consistent. Like, I know I had helped a young podcaster get access to Gary Farmer to do an interview. And this podcaster did not research Gary Farmer, which was kind of embarrassing for me because, Gary would be talking about his movies and his activist work and things like this. And if you know who Gary Farmer is, he's pretty iconic Native film actor in Smoke Signals and been in movies with not Al Pacino, who's the other one? The Tribeca film guy. Anyway, he's been in films with all kinds of iconic people, movie stars. And he's from here, he's from Six Nations. And anyways, it was just really sad to see that time he had to interview Gary Farmer somewhat wasted because he didn't do his research. And as a result, that podcast never got released. So yeah, don't waste my time, don't waste your time. And then be consistent. If you are doing a show, one of the things that people at CFUV a while ago would say about recruitment. So if you're in the business of recruiting new Native voices for radio, do something to assure that those new radio voices are going to be consistent. You can retain them. It's really, that's probably the most challenging part about getting new Native voices on the air is the retention of those voices, like through the training. Somehow they have to be invested in the process of learning to do radio. If they don't, maybe they don't know they have the passion for radio yet, but get them through that process and make sure that they're going to catch that radio bug, because that is what's going to help you retain the voices. And we do need, I never felt like competition in my time doing radio for 10 years, whether it be, on CBC or in community radio. I never felt a sense of competition with other shows because I always thought of the airwaves as being like just infinitely massive, like I don't have to be concerned or insecure about other radio voices coming in or other programs getting on the air or whatever. There's lots of room on the airwaves, man. Like it's just infinite. So, think about including as many voices as you can. This is the goal. This is our goal, to just, take up all those space we can on the airwaves. And the airwaves are infinite, so do your best. And then I wanted to share with you a little bit of what I did in my time as radio host. And that is, I'm going to share with you another listening thing here. My show stinger, have a listen.
Hi, this is Buffy St. Marie. You're listening to Native Waves Radio.
I'm Jesse Green from Brothers of Different Mothers, and you're listening to Native Waves Radio. Keep the airwaves red, rad, and rocking.
Hi, I'm Gary Farmer. You're listening to Native Waves Radio with Ungahawe host January Rogers.
Hi, I'm Dirk Miller. You're listening to Native Waves Radio with Mohawk host January Rogers.
This is Veronica Johnny Epijohn. You're listening to Native Waves Radio.
You're listening to Native Waves Radio on CFUV, keeping the airwaves red and rad.
Yes. So that was every Tuesday I would rock out to that. What was my show stinger? I hope you enjoyed that. And if I wasn't out and about, and I did a bunch of traveling when I was in Victoria, and so I would always take my recorder with me and kind of grab those show tags when I could. And so that's another thing that I recommend, you know, just to include those voices, create the tone that you want, and then really create the tone that you want. And I think that show stinger kind of encompassed the tone of my show, because it was very upbeat, very current, very inclusive, and so on and so forth. I'm very proud of that show stinger. Now I wanted to just share, because we are being hosted by CFUV in this session. I wanted to harken back to some work that I'm really, really proud of, and that makes me really emotional. And that was when I created a segment for Tribal Journeys. And Tribal Journeys is the traditional canoe journey that took place every year. It started in 2008 you can see the drum behind me, the Indigenous Games. And that was, I believe, when they kind of really got going with the Tribal Journeys canoe journey. And that was all of the canoe families from along the West Coast going into the US, still our territory, still our landmass, would journey to different host communities every year. And it was really quite a vision to see like a massive amount of traditional canoes coming at you from the ocean, as they came into onto the shores, and they would camp along the way as well. So I just wanted to share a segment from that program. And if you don't mind, we'll listen here. Yeah, just for about 5 minutes here.
It's always been an awesome feeling to see any number of canoes that arrive in different territories. Over the years, we know that we've had maybe 100 canoes or more. The other day, I was kind of a little apprehensive and disappointed that there weren't that many canoes coming. But after seeing the canoes today, the feeling is still the same. The inspiration that's provided by all the pullers that come will hopefully ground them again, because we've lost the essence of what Tribal Journeys has been about over the years, because there's so many, and I think some of the clubs have neglected not to provide the teachings that are a part of Tribal Journeys. Now, I think this year probably was meant to be, with the number of canoes that small number of canoes, they can regroup and start thinking about all of the teachings that come from different areas over the years. Overwhelmingly, as you know, I went through a tough time last year at the canoe journey, and this is a rekindled spirit for me today to watch the canoes come in and be able to anticipate the stories that they're going to be telling when they go home. And as we know, when we see the young people, you know, the youngsters partaking of the canoe journey, there's always been a desire inside of myself to say, hey, this is what you're going to expect, this is what you're going to happen to you. I've always felt that I'd be robbing them of the experience if I were to do that. So I just kind of keep quiet and anticipate in the end that, you know, the things that I was thinking about, that it does happen.
And Frank, you are talking about teachings that help inspire other people to join the journey. What are some of those top teachings with traditional ocean-going canoe society? What would you say some of the top ones are?
First of all, it just correlates within the teachings that come from all of our cultures. We have to maintain the honor and the respect and the integrity of what culture is all about. The demands that are made of us to be able to adhere to all of those principles are the ones that, the pride instilled in all of us, who we are, the identity that we're a part of. And over the years, we always hear about the negative things that happen outside of our box. That's not ours. We have the opportunity to kind of maintain what we're all about as a people. The teachings that come from canoes, the respect, the honor permeates throughout how you conduct yourself all the way through the journey. You see other canoes, you want to go there and lend a helping hand. And many times sometimes our canoes run into trouble. And there's always somebody waiting there to help them. And that's part of our teachings.
Yes, that's part of our teachings. So, does anybody know whose voice that is we're listening to there? Let's see if I can get you back. I think I've lost everybody here. Can't see you. Yeah, there you are. Does anybody know who is that we're listening to? Cassidy, do you know?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's the Chief Frank Nelson he's from Kinkom Inlet, BC, and but he was residing in Victoria with his wife and his family, and he's gone to spirit now, but he was such an amazing leader, and if you can imagine how difficult it was to maintain a whole canoe society and keep it going over many years. I just feel so emotional because I really, really had a lot of respect for Frank Nelson, and it's good to hear his voice again. So that's what we do as radio people. We can create these archives, these really important archives for our communities with people who, may have passed, or people who are coming up that we can listen back to and go, hey, that person is now in this amazing leadership position I was interviewing them when they were just like little kids or whatever, So I just find that it's a radio, when you create these interviews and things, you create these markers in time for yourselves and for your community. And I just thought that's kind of a great thing that radio does. And then I wanted to, we're at 10 minutes to the hour here. And I just wanted to say what else. Hang on, I just want to get back to my notes. Sorry for that. Here are my notes. Right, so now if you are interested in making radio, how do you go about it? So of course, the wonderful thing about Campus Community Radio is that they will offer you the training for free when you propose your show to them. and if they have, airtime in their programming day. And there's nothing that says that any given radio program station can't have more than one native radio show. So even if they have an existing radio show, there's nothing that says. But there's a more, of course, newer generations of the been to the UK and Colombia and all over the world, New Zealand, everywhere, Aotearoa. And the thing that I recommend, and the thing here is like you can use mic plugins with this. So you can actually do 4-channel recording with this. You can get quality recording with a microphone to somebody else and you can speak into it. And I always recommend you put the little fuzzy nose on it, because it's going to help with the popping and definitely help when you're outdoors for the wind not to interfere with your interview kind of thing. But this is, it's not that difficult to access this. And again, the campus community radio stations have these equipments that you can just sign out for free. And I mean, I'm sure the equipment has changed a ton since I've been at the station. Like I was lugging around big kind of clunky recorders. I can't even remember what they were called, but they were, you'd sign it out and you'd have this big thing you'd have to lug around. But but now it's you throw this in your bag, your backpack, and boom, you can really grab quality stuff, as well as on your phone, as I'm sure a lot of the younger people know. If you can download a really good recording app on your phone, then there's nothing that says you can't use that either. Some of the tips for recording people, if you don't have a studio, is if you're doing narration, if you just need to read a little bit of script for a radio segment, hop in your closet, man. Your closet is it's enclosed. It's got all of this material that absorbs sound. It gives you a dead sound. You're looking to record in a dead sound scenario. You can set up a little space in your home that has, you just pad it all with pillows and blankets. You go about it like that. And then one time I made a really amazing, good quality podcast recording with my buddies in my car, because the car, if with all the windows rolled up, the car is a beautiful setting for dead sound. It's a different sound. I went to see Black Klansman, and then after my buddies and I, we hopped in the car and made a podcast reviewing Black Klansmen. And so that really worked out. But, you want to be not in an industrial area, but, drive the car if you have a car somewhere where it's quiet as well. But that'll give you a good quality recording. So those are just a little bit of my tips. Maybe you have some of tips too, and we could hear about that in a little while. Avoid, coffee shops, that sort of thing. I mean, if you heard the interview with Frank, I purposely layered the songs and the talking within the big house with his voice, because it was part of the atmosphere. And they tell you to do that when you make movie documentaries. It's if you have a subject and they're talking about a certain place, then try to grab some sound from that space, from that place that they're talking about. Either take them to the place and interview them there, or go there yourself and grab sound from that place that they're talking about. It just makes for a layered and a more kind of real experience when it's for playback, so people can hear what it sounds like there. You know what I mean? So those are just, again, some tips on that. Avoid the coffee shop. There's a lot more noise in a coffee shop than you realize. And then, of course, if you can, take people off the street, don't, unless you're doing what they call streeters, where you're just grabbing people off the street and asking them questions. But yeah, there's a lot more noise around than you think. So do your best to find these little pockets of no noise. when interviewing multiple subjects for, say, like a similar doc, ask them the same questions, because then you're going to get into your editing where you can sew together the audio pieces where the different people are talking about the same thing. So you're getting different perspectives. That's another one of my little tricks. And how you do that is when you collect your audio file and you dump it onto your sound program, whatever that happens to be. I still use SoundCloud, or not GarageBand, I hate to say, but I do. But it is anything that's going to give you a time code. And do people know what I mean by time code, right? Like, so when you do your listen back, you've got, how I work is I have a pad of paper and I'm just writing down what they're talking about at certain times, so that when I go to collect those audio segments, I know where to find them on the timeline using the time code. That's another way that I go about piecing my work together. I did happen to attend an NPR. It was a training session through NPR, National Public Radio. And they say the 3 ingredients of a good news segment on radio is this. You want to talk to the people involved. Like, say if it's a house fire, you want to talk to the family, you know, who's affected by the fire. And then you want to talk to an expert. So you want to get some audio from someone who is an expert. So you want to go to a fire chief, or, you know, anyone who gathers statistics around house fires. And then number 3, you want to talk to an average Joe. So you want to get an opinion from like a bystander, or someone who, you know, lives in the neighborhood. You know, it's like, you know, you get that soundbite. It's like, I never expected it to happen here. That sort of thing. So those are kind of like the 3 things that make a balanced news piece. And that's just some information I'm sharing, passing along to you. And yeah, I've got some other segments that we could hear about podcasting and stuff like that. But you know what? I think we're going to, because we're almost at the top of the hour, I'm going to open it up to questions, because I don't want to, you know, just, you know, yapping so much. I would like to hear from you guys who have taken the time to join us today in this session. Any questions at all?
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, thank you so much, Janet. And also for everyone here, if you're interested in making radio or podcasts, or you want to learn some skills, I'll drop my email in the chat and you can volunteer at CFUV. We'll teach you how to podcast, teach you how to make radio. And if you're not based in Victoria, I can hook you up with your local community campus radio station as well if you're interested. Cool. So yeah, I just want to say that off the bat.
Any questiones? Sandra, go ahead, Sandra. You can. I think Sandra can get off of mute. Yeah.
All right. Hi again. Thanks for all the information. It's really interesting. I do have a question, Janet. I've been asked to submit a demo, and actually it's a 2-parter. I'm wondering, how long is a demo usually, average? And also my sponsor. I'm supposed to submit my sponsor. It's the only reason I got asked, I think, but to pay for airtime, right? So if you could address those 2, that'd be great.
Yeah. Where are you going to be submitting it to? Is it campus radio or is it commercial?
No. You've heard of Bert Crowfoot, Cousins Radio?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Oh, are you doing, Senator? Do you do language programs?
That's what I'm considering. Yeah, Cree.
Okay. Yeah, you know what?
Same principle though.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, Bert's, you're gonna be in good company there. He's a mogul, eh? He's like the native radio mogul. Bert Crowfoot, write that name down, people.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna join, but sorry to interrupt. But yeah.
Well, you know what? If they're looking for a demo, I usually go about 10 minutes, depending on the content. Like if you're doing, if you're reading, if you're narrating some script, or, you know, give them a good 3 minutes to hear you. And then if you're punching in some interview or something, then give that a couple of 3 minutes. And then, and if you're doing some music, then some of that. Also, see if you can put like a tail on the front and a tail on the back. And that just means like a little bit of, you know, air, a little bit of space on either end of your recording, like an intro and then the extra, you know? So you want to say, hi, my name is Sandra L. I'm going to, you know, this is my radio demo. I hope you enjoy it. I come from here. This is the nation I'm from, blah, 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 like that, you know? So a little intro, because, you know, you're a person, a human being. And then at the end of it, you know, you can give your contact information on the extra on the end of the, so, and you can, you know, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed your demo. Here's where you can contact me in social media, blah, 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 that sort of thing. Does that help? Does that help?
Yeah, actually, it really does help, the time limit. Now the sponsorship portion.
What does that mean? Like, how do you, I don't know what you mean by that.
To pay for airtime, for instance, if I'm pitching a half-hour show.
Oh, I see.
And of course, I'm going to need sponsorship, right? Commercial.
Okay. Okay. So what's the nature of your show that you're pitching?
Interview style.
Okay.
And it's similar to what you described.
Okay.
Indigenous topics, whether it's First Nation, Métis, or Inuit, but it would depend on the guest, right?
And where are you based, Sandra?
Toronto.
Okay. So think of some local Native sponsorship. If, you know, so keep it as local as you possibly can. Say, you know, maybe approach a Canadian Native Friendship Center or Indigenous Native Health or what have you, you know, other Native businesses. Like, I don't think, what was that cafe in Kensington Market, that restaurant? Sweetgrass Cafe, they closed, but that sort of thing, you know, like a business that could use that sort of bump you know, on the radio. Go at it like that. Or even a sports team, like sports teams got money, you know, usually. So if there's a local Native sports team, lacrosse or what have you, think about in that way.
I was even thinking of approaching philanthropists.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
There's a lot of options out there. I'm just wondering whether or not you've heard of that though.
Yeah, right. Get
that on radio.
Get that white guilt money, girl. I'm just kidding. I mean, yeah, whatever. Yeah, sponsorship. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good luck. Good luck with your pitch. Wow, that's exciting. Yes. Cool. Any other questions? Yeah, that was a lot of info. It's, yeah. What kind of show do you do, Cassidy?
Yeah, so I do two shows. So I do a podcast called Dene Talk, which is kind of telling contemporary stories of indigeneity. The whole thing with Dene Talk that I wanted to do was I really wanted to focus like on the history, but also focus on celebrating like Indigenous brilliance and joy. And so I really wanted to like really focus on like different ways that what that means. So I talked to a bunch of great people, from burlesque dancers to writers and poets and psychologists and things like that. So yeah, and then I'm also hosting a show coming up on Friday at 6 p.m. at CFUV, and it's all Indigenous indie pop electro alternative music. It's called Crownlands. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah. I think I might want to share here we go. I wanted to share this. I'm going to share something on the screen. Is that okay? Okay, let me see if I can make this happen. Here we go. Share. Okay, can y'all see that? So this is a list of some current podcasts that are available right now that anyone can at any time dig in. I'll tell you something. This first one here, Media Indigena, one of my favorites. Talk about upping the intellect. Like, I just feel like 10 times smarter after listening to this show. And they really dig into some topics. They're very candid. The host, Rick Harp, is based in Treaty 1 territory, Winnipeg there, but he includes people from all over the place. Coffee with My Ma, which is Tia Horn Miller, but now she has another CBC show. So like it changes rapidly. People really graduate rapidly when they get into radio, and that's because of a need. To say that the nation, we have the ear of the nation now as Indigenous people is a little bit of an understatement. Like, people are genuinely interested in our stories. They understand, I think, generally speaking, understand now that they missed out on a good portion of the real story of how the nation came to be, you know. And I think as a result, there's a lot of people playing catch up, and listening to these podcasts is part of that, playing catch up. I mean, look at the list just goes on and on. So the Red Nation podcast, you know, and of course you could be as niche as possible. Like you were saying, Cassidy, that you were interviewing some burlesque. Heck, man, there could be a whole Indigenous erotica show, you know, just on that. There could be a whole Native book show. Like, there's so many books out there now too, you know. So like, it could be as niche as possible. And certainly because we're working with Airwaves, we do not have to recognize any border, any white man's border, you know. Like, let's dip into all of the Turtle Island and consume from that big well of beautiful shows, you know. Yeah, tons of it. Look, it just goes on. There's tons of stuff. Stories from the land. Yeah. Anyways, any other questions, you guys? As we.
I just wanted to add on to that point, Janet. Like, I know the CBC is working on 3 new podcasts, and they're also they're hungry for the associate producers. I know the CBC, especially on those upper levels, is very problematic, but it's good paying jobs that exist out there for Indigenous media types. Yeah,
that's a really good point. They are making efforts to be more inclusive, but not in the management area, that's for sure. But they are making efforts in terms of getting more Native voices on the air, in terms of creating the training, and people like Duncan McHugh are part of that training. So he's such a good guy. Like, I know Duncan, I've interviewed him, and he's just real, you know, based out of Toronto. So yeah, if you are interested, there are those opportunities do exist. If you want to go that route with CBC. I certainly have done some documentaries, radio documentaries with CBC, and I've had a good experience in that regard. My one that another one I'm really proud of is 50 years of Bring Your Drum, 50 years of Indigenous protest music. And like, that was, you know, it was so fulfilling to do that research and include those voices, you know. I got to talk to John Trudell, who's no longer with us, and was interviewing Alani Sabamsuin about protest music, you know, and so again, it was just really, I felt like I was doing my part as an Indian to bring these stories to the masses over the airwaves, you know. And it was a little infiltratey as well, like going through CBC to do that work. I felt good, like very subversive kind of work too, you know. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Anybody have a show right now that you do, or looking to do a show? Oh, I can stop sharing. Okay, there we go. I can stop sharing my screen. Right. That's it. Yeah. Let me see what else I have lined up for us to look at. Who remembers there was a thing, a program called, or a network called RPM FM, and it was, I guess, a podcast thing by Jarrett Martineau. And again, he was just working independently. I met Jarrett Martineau through UVic, because he was like a Indigenous governance student at UVic at the time. And then he went on to do RPM FM, which again was like an independent podcast that helped to support like the really cutting edge new music, Native music that was coming out. And then lo and behold, CBC picked him up, and he's the guy who hosts Reclaimed, now on CBC. So, you know, like you can start and trust that pathway, native radio pathway just keeps opening up in some regards. Did we have a question on the chat? Shan, oh, you had an industrial music show? Nice, nice. I like industrial music shows, great. Yeah, great, good. Kim Talberry, yes, does TB Confessions, that's right, yes. Kim Talberry is also part of the Indigenous Media Indigena podcast with Rick Harp. And she's always got, you know, she's so super intelligent. She's got great things to say. Yeah. What did you guys think of that segment from KYA out of San Francisco? What did you think of that?
It's so retro.
It's very so retro. Yeah, it was very retro.
Especially when he's like Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam's response, like
he kept saying that. Yeah. He kept saying that. Uncle Sam. He said about 4 times. Yeah. And oh, Jeff Doctor has a hand up. Yes, Jeff Doctor, the doctor.
Hi, Janet.
Hi.
I just got back actually to Six Nations territory from ʷەŋən territory. And so I was just curious about your thoughts on like using radio like during land events. So like when we're talking about Land Back Lane, for example, I was just wondering if you have any thoughts on like utilizing whether it's pirate radio or even conventional radio, like while a longstanding like land defense actions going on.
Yeah, well, just be fully aware that you're going to have the authorities listening in, you know, because they're plugged into all of it. If we're using any means to communicate, trust me, they're infiltrating those means. And that's how they knew where to find people at certain times, like to make arrests for the land back happening, the current land back here at Six Nations. Because people would, you know, you announce it. Every time you're posting something on social media, you're showing your hand, you know, like you're giving away that information for people. But at the same time, that's how we mobilize the masses. And that's exactly what we were doing with Idle No More. And so it's like, just be aware that whatever you're doing, there's going to be people listening in. And if it's really something that you don't want police or people of that ilk listening into, then find another means to do it. And you know, that was the whole thing. Again, if you remember Oka 1990, summer of 1990, it was all about the walkie-talkie man. There wasn't like the cell phone thing happening, you know. But even with the text, like they're going to infiltrate your phone, trust. You know, they have the ways and the means to do that. I remember walking into a rally in Victoria one time, and I think it was like a salmon rally or a water rally, like something really benign, you know, like that. And as soon as I walked onto the grounds of where the rally was happening, my phone pinged. And there was nothing there. And it was just like the cops who were all like up on top of the building looking down on this rally. They were picking up everyone's numbers as we were walking into the rally. So, you know, there's that. But you know, again, I like the way that radio and social media plays a part in, again, mobilizing the people. Yeah, but with the awareness that, you know, yeah, you're not alone on your channels. That's for sure. Yeah. And I think they think that we're much more sneaky than we are. I think they're trying to decode our, you know, like they think we're using code, or it's nothing. Like I remember again when the land back, and we're almost at 1 year anniversary of land back now on Six Nations. And I remember those early days a year ago, I would go to, because they would hold social dances, like, you know, just really friendly community-based social dances. And there was people, you know, flying drones over to catch footage of what we were doing. What we were doing, barbecuing hot dogs, motherfucker. Like, you know, have at it. We were barbecuing hot dogs, we were singing social songs, and we were dancing, you know. And I guess that they felt like that was threatening enough to them, you know. And so yeah, it doesn't take much, Jeff, as I'm sure you're aware. It doesn't take much to pose a threat as a Native person. So as long as you are aware of that, you won't be petrified by the knowledge when people overreact in their reaction to you. Do you know what I mean by that? And I'm just always aware, like even if you drive by the land back site now, your license plate's being taken down. Like, trust, just be aware. Yeah. And we were at the concert, like Shan was at the concert last weekend and Neil was at the concert. It was a great concert. They did a nice concert, land back concert for all the people, and it was really wonderful. And but I have no doubt that there was somebody there who was snapping pics who shouldn't have been there, who wasn't there for the same reason we were. So yeah, we all got files. Yeah, I hope that answers.
Thanks. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And Stephanie, you were on you've been on a few of the talks that I've done. Hey, so that's wonderful to see you. That's great. Yeah. Plugging my biz. What was your biz? I have nothing.
I work for a company called Animiki. So we're actually based in the ʷəŋən territory, but we're sort of expanding all over the place.
And you're from where, Jeff?
So my colleague own podcast called Indigenous Innovators. I do that, so I can't claim any credit, but so I'm taking notes here so I can pass back to them as they do further episodes.
Okay, good. Yeah. Oh, you guys are great. If people are looking for have a website done or anything like that, go to Animiki. Yeah, show your t-shirt. That's the name of the place. Yeah, that's right. It's great. Cool. Yeah. Anything else, you guys? We're almost at the end of our time. Anything else about Native radio that I didn't cover? Yeah. Again, I just, I'm kind of anti now, like, because I just want to say, if you're taking on radio, do a good job of it. Like that's my bottom line. Just be professional, do your research, be prepared. Yes.
Hi, I was just wondering, how do you incorporate like traditional ways of knowing and protocol into audio formats?
Yeah, this is a great question. As anything, people are really stuck on this land acknowledgement thing. And I always say, that's not for me to do because I'm on my land, or you're on your land, or we're on our land, or what have you. So the land acknowledgement really is for the non-native listener. But you don't have to feel obligated to do that. If you are having guests and it's a pretty, any guest really, have a gift. If they're sharing something really, really, kind of traditional, then make that gift traditional. I would always have some tobacco on hand for some gifts, certain gifts or guests rather. And basically, let them have the airwaves. Like, you may have a list of questions and that list of questions is long, but if they feel that they really need to expand on certain things, don't cut them off. The cutting off a practice is a commercial radio practice because you only have so much time in a segment. Well, with community radio, you don't have that restriction. So don't be like that. There's no reason to be like that. If people need to expand on what they're saying or carry on and go on, allow it. What's another thing I wanted to say about that? And then of course, don't just stick a microphone in someone's face. Like going into a big house, like that was special. Going into big house with a recorder, that's special. There's gonna be some songs you can't capture. There's going to be some events you don't want to bring any recording equipment into, and you need to know that. So always ask up front. Always ask up front about that. Yeah. And what are you plugging there, Jeff?
So it looks like Tanya Talaga is releasing a brand new video podcast.
Excellent. Through Audible?
not sure. It's through her company, Makwa Creative, and she just posted about it today.
Okay, good. Oh, good.
Okay,
Yeah,
having something with no history about it.
Okay, yeah, I had the pleasure of interviewing her. She's, she's a journalist, so it's interesting to interview journalists because they're used to making the questions themselves. But so I had some really different questions, and that's the thing too. It's like you want to stay away from those cliche questions that you have heard them answer before, and they've had to answer before numerous times. Be unique, talk about other things with them. Find other questions that will make it more personal for them and experience, because oftentimes, like someone like Tanya Talega, who has been interviewed gobs of times about her, award-winning books and now film and now going to be podcast, that make it enjoyable for her and for people. I do that. I try to think of questions that are kind of unique and not the norm for them to answer. And you get to know, the person a little differently in that way as well. Yeah. And again, just do your research. Like everything is online now, everything is online. I host a author series through goodminds.com once a month. And luckily, if I don't have time to read the book, I can go to YouTube and find tons of, information there. So I kind of go, that's one of my research tools is YouTube for sure. It's all online, man. It's like we have access to so much information now. It's incredible. Yeah. Was there another question? Did somebody else have another question? Do you recommend different length programs for different markets? It depends. Stephanie's asking that. It depends on, again, the format. Whoops, I'm doing crazy things here. It depends on where you're broadcasting or podcasting. Really think of your audience. Of course, if I'm doing a show, say for example, I'm going to do the show. I've been approached actually as a possible host for Element FM in Toronto, possibly. And so I'm not going to go over there and pitch them a show about, native food. Like that's not their thing, right? So no, again, it's like a reader, it's like a poet. When you're making your set, know your audience, read your audience, know what it is they're looking for, and be consistent, because they're going to, okay, that show's going to be about politics. Oh, this show is more about the music. Oh, this show is going to tell me about, it's a show about Native education. Be consistent, be that go-to show. Yeah. And show up. Yeah. Anything else, you guys? I want to make sure.
I got like a million questions, but I don't want to dominate the space. Just like in your experience, how do you like keep like the energy and the momentum going? Because that's like one thing I hear is that one of the big challenges is just getting that kind of flow to get enough content out there consistently, so people like, because they might not hear about you right away.
Right. Well, I mean, so I did the Native Waves radio show with CFUV for 10 years. That's a good long time. That's a good long time. And luckily, like I said, the Native music was exploding. So I had access to all of this new music, and the more I did the radio, the more people knew my name affiliated with the radio, and they would start to send me the new music, so I didn't have to go look for it, And then I would get again out and about and going to shows, and I would grab these interviews at the concerts with the artists as they came through town, and it's so you're not just offering the Native art and culture show, you're offering the actual voices of the artists. You're offering new music. I'm giving you a reason to keep tuning in every week. And then luckily, by a miracle, the last 2 years of my show, I ran into my buddy, Troy Sebastian, who in the halls of the UVic, and I go, he was just kind of hanging out, and I go, hey man, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm hanging out. And he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to go do my radio show. I said, you want to hop on? And he hopped on, and he stayed as a co-host for 2 years. So because the chemistry was so amazing. And so if it feels stale, that's your job to, find a way to breathe new life, while maintaining the tone that you set, and keep staying with the subject that you said you would offer on a week-to-week basis, or however often your show runs, whatever the frequency is there. So yeah, and maybe it means, moving out of your seat too, because again, remember, those airwaves are infinite, and maybe you can move on and elevate, and maybe somebody else comes into your place, and there's always going to be room for our voices. Trust, yeah. But that's what I recommend. Mm-hmm. What do you guys listen to and do you have a native radio program in your community? I'm asking you guys this question
now. If folks have Spotify, I just found this great playlist on Spotify called #Indigenous, and it's just a full, thousands of songs that are all Indigenous from Turtle Island and beyond.
Who made that?
I can Google it. Just give me a second.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's curated by this person. Let me just, her name is Nadia Kwandi.
Oh, Nadia Kwandabins, yeah, of course.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's an auntie. She's a great photographer. There's also a guy in the UK, non-native guy, but he just loves native music so much, he has a program every week. It's called a song, Music from Turtle Island, I think. And this guy, he has a show in London, the UK. And he features all native music. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Came across this, what is it? Let me see, Jeff, you're sending us here. A great source of information you are.
Yeah, I have the links, but I randomly came across this. It's like Spotify, I find, has a lot of the mainstream artists, but I randomly came across this, and it's got a lot of other stuff you might not hear about elsewhere.
Right. What is this one? Nico, what is that?
Yeah, I have no idea where it came from or anything. I just randomly stumbled across it.
Right. And then I still maintain, even though I don't have my show anymore, I still maintain my Native Waves Radio Facebook page. And people post, it's open for anyone to post things there. So I find some new music there. I kind of got tired of telling people repeatedly that it's a Facebook page just for native radio and native music content, but people just don't get it. So people just started posting political things and announcements, and I just thought, after so many years of trying to tell people, I just thought, whatever, just post whatever you're going to do. Gunarji O'Sullivan, yes. Gunarji came up the same time that I did, again with the Neski Manual. So it was like herself, myself, Neski Manual, and then a brother of ours in Montreal. And we were all kind of holding ground, if you will, in the native radio scene at the same time. And that was, early 2008, 2009, 2010 kind of time. But now it's exploded. Yeah. And there's an Instagram. Oh yeah, 150 Indigenous artists. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Oh, and Story Keepers podcast. Yes. Great. Perfect. Yeah. Yep. There's tons. I mean, we're spoiled for choice now, and we're spoiled for choice with the music now too. You could do a niche, a genre specific native radio show, and have different music every week. You really could. There's so much now. You could all do all native DJs show. Can you imagine? That'd be so great. Yeah. So yeah, I hope you guys keep supporting the radio and the podcasts, because it's important that we, occupy our airwaves with our voices and our presence, having a presence on those airwaves too. I'm just so, again, I'm not when Jarrett Martineau started doing his Reclaim show on CBC, I was a little jealous, I have to admit, because I thought, you know what, he's doing my show. I should have had that show. But then I thought, nah, don't worry about it. You can do your thing. And so now what I'm doing, my love for radio, is I am producing a web series about a struggling Native radio station. So we're going to start shooting in the fall for a web series about a struggling, it's WKRP on the res, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very excited for that. That sounds awesome.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. But I think that brings us to our time. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope y'all got something out of it. You know, I did my best to kind of structure and, you know, give us something to listen to and also to learn from. I miss doing radio. I really do. I miss it very much. And I just love radio people. There's something kind of electric about radio people as well. Like when you meet them, it's a type of person. I find, not to be, you know, kind of not to generalize too much, but I find that, yeah, radio people have got a buzz about them. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody else want to say anything before we sign off?
I just want to say again, thank you so much, Janet, for taking some time this afternoon and I guess evening for you now.
Yeah, you're most welcome. And again, I just hope that I've offered something that you can take away with you. And if you know, find me on the social medias if you like. I'm on the Instagrams and the Twitters and everything. So find me there if you have any follow-up questions. I'm happy to talk radio all day long. I could do it all day long. It's such a great thing. Yeah. Be in touch, and everyone, please support Native Radio. I know that you have because you've come here today. So that's so great. Oh, thank you, Kayla. Still on the bus. Where are you going, girl? Holy. Traveling on that bus.
I'm coming back to Toronto just now. I just really appreciate everyone sharing. It made the train ride really enjoyable, and also good to see all the connections that people are making, and hoping to keep that freedom of expression through the airwaves going.
Fantastic. Yes, you're welcome. Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that's us. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Party on, everybody. Enjoy. Yeah. See you on the airwaves.